The Emerald Dream. We are almost certainly going to be going there. It'll be damn soon, and it's going to be more than we've ever seen in the game before. You see, years ago, Chris Metzen said that really the idea of an Emerald Dream expansion wouldn't really work because it would kind of just be a big green forest or field. But you see, now things are actually quite different. We know more, the lore's been pushed forward, our knowledge has really surged from Legion 2 today, so it is a concept more fantastical and broad than we ever could have imagined back then, probably including Chris. So, let's dive in to what's almost certainly going to be where we're going next. Our sponsor. HelloFresh. Go to HelloFresh.com and use code Bellular50 for 50% off and your first box free. That is a lot of food. Now, their meal kit service is absolutely killer. I really do think it's one of the easiest ways to just improve your quality of life and save time. All that I do is I select meals on the app from a 35 plus a week selection. There's options there for low calorie and smart carb meals. Particularly, I enjoy the rapid ones because they just really help me out during the weeknights. Then, all your food's delivered in a cooled box. You just open that, you put your groceries in the pantry, you put the refrigeration thing in your fridge, and that is your grocery shopping done. I mean, that saves so much time and trips to the shop in itself. Now, this time around, I did have a little bit more time. So here's a delicious sun-dried tomato risotto. It was gorgeous. It's actually something I've never cooked before, and that's actually another big benefit here too. You can try cooking new dishes you've never tried. It's one of the best ways to just learn and get comfortable with cooking. Everything being pre-measured is great too. There's the rapid meals as well, which, I mean, they've got nice time savers like pre-diced chicken and other ingredients, and those save me a lot of time. The hassle of shopping and planning your food is gone. You just get what you need when you need it. There's no food waste. There's no random ingredients lying around cluttering up your home, which makes cleanup so much faster. They are carbon neutral, they ship in recyclable packaging, and they cut food waste by 25%. Versus fast food, they're also way cheaper and much more healthy. I mean, it's just such a win-win on every front. And if you're focusing a bit more on health, then the nutritional info is all posted on the recipe, so calculating your macros is already done for you. So, between my work here, my partner's hectic job, suffice to say, HelloFresh has been an absolutely massive winner for both of us. So really, saving time, money, and being healthy is a pretty damn good proposition. So go to HelloFresh.com and use code Bellular50. That'll get you your first box for free and 50% off. They're absolutely awesome. Recommend them wholeheartedly. A big thanks to them for sponsoring, and let's go. Okay, I know you wanted the cold, hard proof. Well, our journey to the dream is kicking off way sooner than you thought. Patch 10.1 datamining revealed a glaive that's labeled Emerald Dream Outdoor. Now, that follows the naming convention of Black Dragon Outdoor, which is actually the naming convention of some of the patch 10.1 gear, which does mean that this is a humongous hint. Between this and Blizzard confirming the obvious that future patches will be focusing on the other Dragonflights, this all adds up perfectly, where we've got the opportunity to advance the story of the Greens, the Night Elves, and the Emerald Dream all at once. So almost every sign points towards yes. But this is not the dream as we understood it a decade ago. Let's see how. Huge primordial forests, Gahanir at the highest pinnacle, wild gods running around. All that is still basically right, but let's go back. So our first reference to the dream is basically that it's a spirit realm ruled by Ysera, from where she would control the ebb and the flow of nature and evolution. But over time, this would grow. In Wrath of the Lich King, it became clear the dream was a key part of the Titans' plan for Azeroth. Chronicle, of course, stated that some people say the Keeper Freya wove the dream from nothing, but others said that it always had existed and the Titans just used it or carved a bit out for their own designs, for their own purpose. Either way, the dream as we saw it was a blueprint for life on Azeroth. The logic was that life would basically make the soul of the planet stronger, right? And that would bring Azeroth one step closer to awakening and joining the Titan Pantheon. On Azeroth itself, Freya built Sholazar and Ungoro as real-world counterparts to the Dream. And from there, much of the life we see today actually grew. But curiously enough, depending what race your character is, well, not really much to do with your tune. The first creatures were huge, godlike figures which Freya connected deeply to the Dream, creating the wild gods. From there, Azeroth would take over until one day the blueprint of the Dream was complete and Azeroth could finally awaken. Straightforward, right? I mean, did I miss anything? You probably are thinking about a few things. I mean, Elune. How does Elune fit into this? Is she in the Emerald Dream? Or does she have something to do with the moon? What does it mean? What about all the wild gods that we found in Shadowlands that come from different planets? Was there a Freya on every single world doing an Emerald Dream? What about the pantheon of life? I mean, if every cosmic realm has a set of godlike figures, then why has Ysera not ever told us about them? Is Elune the only one for life? But if so, how does she play her role in Tauren creation? Right? And then the Tauren creation myth. As the moon, how does this work? You see, the further that we get from that first ever description of the Emerald Dream, the more holes, the more weird things crop up. The thing is, though, once you actually take the Titans out of the picture, a lot of things make more sense. The Emerald Dream, as we understand it, still does exist and remains relevant. However, it is actually just seen as a small part that Freya fenced off and claimed, a small part of a far more broad, primordial, fundamental plane of life. We're only beginning to understand, then, what lies beyond that boundary. This perhaps infinite life of death is where souls should start their journey, right? They start their journey, they manifest into the material realm, and then, whenever they expire, when they die, they transition to the Shadowlands. Just that, of course, wild gods and Loa, which, are native to the Dream, they are among the most powerful and intelligent inhabitants of the cosmos. And their importance to this cycle of life and death between the Emerald Dream, or whatever it fully is called, and Ardenweald, well, it actually means that whenever they die, they go to Ardenweald for reincarnation, rather than experiencing the true death of a mortal. Elune also plays a crucial role in the Dream, and if her connection to the Winter Queen is as we understand it, then perhaps Elune can be seen as the Summer Queen, ruling over the realm where life begins. A pantheon, then, may even exist, ruling over other elements of life. Perhaps in that plane we see endless savannas, endless oceans, the lush forests that we expect, woven through the full fabric of creation with Zereth Vitae lying at its core, and other expressions of life that we could barely even fathom. The point basically is that long ago, we only knew the Dream as just endless forests, a blueprint of Azeroth. We had no idea that the Dream that we saw was only a cordoned off part of creation, one spanning a whole plane of life that quite obviously the Titans had walled off for their own aims. Of course, Shadowlands led us to infer so much, but now it's about seeing, not inferring. And what we see may not be what we expected. The only Dream we saw was this walled-off garden from the Titans, littered with their relics. Take a look through the Emerald Dream as it's been portrayed in-game. Think about, say, the entrance to the heart of the Dream, right beside where Cenarius stood in the Emerald Nightmare raid. You see basically this weird-looking vault door thing. You see all of these big golems that, of course, conjure up images of the Titans. When I say that our understanding has surged from Legion through to now, this is what I mean. And even as a simple question, what is in that vault? And then take the Rift of Uln, a part of the Dream seemingly connected to the Nightmare corruption that really seems to operate bizarrely insofar as time, space, and the Twisting Nether goes. I mean, there was corruption stuff from the Rift of Uln in Archimonde when we defeated him at the very end of Warlords of Draenor, which certainly hints that there is, more to the idea of the Emerald Dream than just this tiny little walled-off bit that we see. So I suspect that after we tear away the Titan Keeper narratives about the dream, we're going to find something much grander than we ever thought a dream expansion could be. Something that even could fit Metzen's criteria, when the idea of a dream just didn't really make sense all the way back when he gave that initial statement. But before we talk about how we may get to the dream, and it may be very soon, I think I should do some highlights of some real damn big things we've learned recently. To kick us off, in the Dreadlord spy document we saw, there's essentially a through line that life is a pretty tough nut to crack. Much like a weed that will grow anywhere, a creeping vine, a root that can crack a great rock, life is insidious, it's hard to kill, it's hard to control. This crops up again when we learn essentially of a broker conception of the cosmos, seeing them really, display things as life and death. And with that, order and light are closest to death, fel and void are closest to light, and in a way that does kind of make sense when you think about unrestrained growth. We then go to the expansion Warlords of Draenor and the whole thing that was supposed to be going on with the Everbloom, right? With that whole, attack on Stormwind. We absolutely saw the bad side of life, the unrestricted wild growth side of life that is not good. They made a big point of that in Warlords of Draenor, and later on in Battle for Azeroth, whenever the Mag'har orcs make it back home and they escape Yrel's hordes, well, actually, a bunch of those life creatures actually escape with them and run away. To continue some of the oddness here, we mortals of Azeroth, at least many of us, our mortality and our free will was given to us via a curse, or as some would put it, a gift, and that is the Curse of Flesh, which came from the old gods. Of course, old gods, void, and that's something the brokers see as being actually pretty close to, the general chaotic side of their whole conception of the cosmos. That gift was given us to old gods, and it was much to Odin, who is a being of order, his disdain. There are also curious hints. Elune worship is something across the whole cosmos. Wild gods are across the whole cosmos. But before that, whatever Blizzard's point with the Drust was, is also something we've got to think about. That obviously didn't go as far as it could be. And then there's the very well-known line, "Beware the eyes of green," which obviously is supposed to make us think critically about life. All that I've just said here can be tossed onto a general big pile of Emerald Dream and life plane related mystery and tease that Blizzard have been setting up. Of course, they're clearly making this then more than just the little Azerothian thing that we see, and with it now representing life, wrote large across the cosmos, woven through all of creation. Well, the Emerald Dream could truly take us absolutely anywhere. We could see anything. Whatever biome you could think of, be it a familiar Azerothian forest, a wholly unexpected alien landscape, it can be so and be within the dream. How, though, would this be introduced to World of Warcraft? From what I've said thus far, I think you can understand how it could be an expansion, but I do not think that it's going to be one. After the Shadowlands, the idea of going to the Lifelands, a region of which we know of as the Emerald Dream, would probably not be the best move for Blizzard's overall PR. You could totally see how the place could make sense. It is literally just life across the galaxy. So where you would have had Bastion and Ardenweald, you could have all of the natural worlds like Azeroth and Draenor having their sort of mirror, right? Their sort of section of life, and maybe in those in-between bits of those different realms we see bizarre cosmic space whales. But after Shadowlands, I don't think they'll do that. And given the data mining from the top of this video, yeah, I actually do think 10.2 will take us there. And of course, it all comes back to the place in the Isles where the green Dragonflight made its connection to the dream, a portal around which the dream wildly manifests. Perhaps we'll even ride straight through that portal, no loading screen like with 10.1 Zaralek Cavern. But perhaps more important than that is how we narratively arrive there. Much like with 10.1, 10.07, of course, was the prequel patch, and therefore I would say that 10.1.7 is likely the prequel patch to the Emerald Dream. And with that being the case, let's take a look at the lore, at the story that we need to pick up. Of course, this began with the War of Thorns and the burning of Teldrassil. Thousands died in a strike against the elves so brutal it sent Tyrande on a suicidal quest for revenge. One that saw her take up this Night Warrior power. She dove into the Shadowlands hell-bent on exacting revenge, but something miraculously happened at the pinnacle of her rage. When she was about to burn so bright she would die, Elune herself manifested and spoke through her. This was our first contact with the Moon Goddess. She gave Tyrande a tear, and when all the souls slain during the War of Thorns were collected, that tear transformed into a seed for a new world tree. Tyrande and Marithra later travelled to the Dream and stored the seed there, which is currently where it is. And basically we're waiting for two things. The big one is our second contact with Elune, which very well could take place in patch 10.1, and then, of course, will likely further the story of the Green Dragonflight and the broader grand narrative. But more importantly, second is the story of this new world tree and the healing of the Night Elves. We have no idea exactly when they plan to grow it or plant it or where they will do that, but we may go as far as to know where the new Night Elf home will be, something that in interviews Blizzard have said we'll see in-game and not off-screen. World trees, of course, are as much a part of the dream as they are reality in the material plane. This one is particularly potent, though, I would imagine, because it's been blessed by both the Winter Queen, so death, and Elune, which means life, we presume. So as far as world trees go, this is going to be one that'll be hard to beat, perhaps more resistant than the other ones that, that we've seen. For another example of this, the mixing of these forces, Bolvar, light, life, death, all of this magic swirling around him made him incredibly resistant to the Jailer. So surely then, a tree blessed by life and death will be a special one and a key narrative moment for the game. Now, there is a hard comparison to be made between the Shadowlands and whatever these Lifelands are going to be, but take this last thought with you. Shadowlands wasn't necessarily sunk by its crazy cosmic lore. We loved some of that stuff, and the whole Pantheon and Zera thing actually did give us quite a few cool things to chew over that I had fun with. Really, Shadowlands was sunk by its pacing, the sort of logical through line of its plot just being so accelerated and threadbare, and the awful treatment of characters and of beloved ideas. We're sort of seeing a redemption arc for that in Dragonflight. They have actually reproven their storytelling ability, especially with those new heritage quests in 10.07. It seems that they can actually lay out an idea like this over several major and minor patches. So now armed with a truly amazing concept for the Emerald Dream, I think the only thing between us and a truly amazing dream is time. Whether that be the very likely thing of a big chunky new patch, or perhaps the less likely thing of a patch and an expansion. But what if they went a little bit in the middle for those? Because I did note that 10.15 and 10.17 don't really have much in the way of a new zone being announced, and that does make me remember of another time that the World of Warcraft actually reused a sort of starting area that wasn't as important as a bunch of patch content, and how being efficient there let them do a very big patch. And of course, I'm talking about the Broken Shore, which was the world content for patch 7.2. And seemingly with Blizzard being able to save some time and save some budget on that, we were able to get Argus with patch 7.3. Argus that had its three pretty distinct, really big zones. I would almost wonder then if, with their larger team, we may not get a major patch or an expansion. Indeed, what if it's even possible that we get some sort of Argus-styled thing? Something that's really a selection of patch zones rather than just one. Hard to tell, but that is where I leave you today, and everything that we know about the Emerald Dream, which is almost certainly coming soon. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out this one next. big thanks to today's sponsor for supporting us and for you for watching, and I'll see you next time.